Okay,
Hey
I
guys.
want one sec. I want to talk about. I'll add in a little bit about being in a bookstore, whether you be independently published and or whether you be classically published. Talking about the bookstore side of it, just having worked in bookstores.
Yeah, and well, you could talk about making sure that the publisher has a route to bookstores as well, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of small publishers out there that'll say, "We can get you into Diamond," but can they get you into Barnes and Noble? Can they get you into Indigo?
Yeah.
These are big questions to consider. Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Today my guest is Chris Cam, uh, co-writer of our series Cover of Darkness. Thanks so much for being on the show, Chris.
Hey, George. Good to see you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really quick, if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell a friend about it. Today we're talking about how to get your book published. This is a big question for a lot of people that are making indie books. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of give up on getting their books published and put it out there for free on like Webtoons or Tapas or these other things. But for us, it was important to have our series in comic book stores, in bookstores. And so we want to talk about what was our journey like to make this happen. So, Chris, real quick, can you tell the viewers out there what is our series that we have together that is coming out in January from the Source Point Press?
Yeah, we're super excited. We got a deal with Source Point Press for Cover of Darkness. It is a horror graphic or horror comic book series, and I'll tell you a bit about it. It's set in a medieval world. We have a mom and her two daughters, and she has a pair of shape-shifting nephews that turn into animals. We in our world, we also have some of the best monstrous villains that you can imagine. We have vampires, we have werewolves, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, as well as the mummy. And what we've done is we've actually taken all of these amazing monsters and we've made them our own. We tell our own origin story for each of those monsters and give them their own motivations and story and origin within our world. And so we take Frankenstein. I put him on the island of Atlantis, and then we have his widow resurrect him as Frankenstein's monster being Frankenstein. And it's just a fun adventure where we take this family, we brutally tear them apart, and then we throw them on a collision course with all of these monsters throughout the world. And all they want to do is reunite. And we're just keeping throwing monsters at them, saying that's not going to happen. And so it's a really fun adventure, as well as a little bit of horror thrown in there and a little bit of humor thrown in there as well.
Yeah, it's horror meets fantasy, right? It's
Yeah.
Game of Thrones meets the Universal monsters, and we have that fantasy aspect as well with goblins and orcs and dragons in the series. So it's a fun book. My favorite characters are the Viking werewolves. They're pretty awesome and brutal to each other, but it's been an absolute blast making this series with you. But once we started making the comic, we realized it wasn't enough to just make it. You have to actually go out there and sell it. And who else is going to help you to sell it better than a comic book publisher? And so we went about our journey a little differently because we did try the cold submission process. And
Yep.
honestly, guys out there, that is a tough grind because you're going to send your books out into the ether and you're not going to hear back. And people aren't going to read them. That's the cold reality is, not a lot of books get read. Like your art has got to be just killer for them to even spend more than 10 seconds on your book. And then even then they might not ever look at it because especially like places like Image Comics, Dark Horse, Boom, they get flooded with so many submissions. It's really
So many.
impossible.
Yeah. Well,
So
and I think one thing I've heard is that, art is what grabs the reader. Art is what's going to grab the attention of the publisher. The story is what's going to keep them going. And so really keep that in mind when you're looking at an artist, when you're thinking of the story that you're writing. Art is the original grabber of the attention, and then the story keeps them going.
yeah, a publisher isn't going to put out your book if the story's bad. If the art is bad, they won't even read your book. So you need to have the art to get them to read it, to have them put it out. So make sure you choose a killer artist when you're developing your comic book series. So my number one tip, though, for getting your book published is go to conventions. Go out there and meet people This is like any other job. How many people got their job because they knew somebody? It's kind of a big thing, right? It's just the way that human beings work. And so go out there and meet people. You know, maybe that person that you're selling is as a publisher or works at a publisher or whatever. The root is getting good at doing your elevator pitch, like Crystal just did a minute ago. That's essential so that you can talk to people about your comic book in a concise manner. Nobody wants to talk to you for 5 minutes when they don't know you. You got a minute of their time. You got maybe 2 minutes tops. So do your pitch.
Yeah.
Be cool. Yeah. And be a nice human being. You know, like these people don't owe you anything at all. So when you're going up to them, keep that in mind. Say, hey, it's really nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me for a minute. Go right into your, this is what my series is. Just hit them with your pitch fast and give them a copy of it. Sometimes people read copies of their comics, or they'll give them one and they'll be like, I need that back. That's my only one. No, print off lots to give out to publishers. Like, come on, you're trying to get a book published. You got to leave them with something.
Well, and I think a good point is be ready to solicit, be ready with a printed copy of your item, whether it be a single issue or a graphic novel. Be ready with it done, printed, and good to go at this point. Don't be soliciting any publisher at all until you have something to give them full and complete, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, you know, like especially if you're like a new creator, like you're not going to get a publishing deal just based off of the script. Like it's just
based on an idea. Yeah,
it's like you really have to have a finished product. Like it doesn't have to be the whole series. You can have like just issue 1 done. That'll be enough for them to know if they want to move forward on it. If they read issue 1 and they're like, yeah, this is good, we want to move forward with you, start creating more. That happened with me with my series Resilient that's out through Absolute Comics Group. I only had the first issue done with them. With Cover of Darkness, we had like 9 issues done by the time we actually signed with them. Speaking about the conventions, I'd recommend going to New York Comic Con because not all comic book conventions are the same. Some of them are small local shows. Editor-in-chief of a big comic book company is not going to be at Wizard World with Madison, Wisconsin. He's just not going to be there. Go to New York Comic Con. Everybody's there. And you can actually get in front of a decision maker, right? And that's important. But another thing is it doesn't necessarily have to be that big decision maker that you talk to, because our biggest advocate on Cover of Darkness is a guy named Chris Tablock. And he works for Source Point Press, and good dude. He is the warehouse manager there. He does a lot of scheduling logistics, and he does a lot of conventions for them, but not the ultimate decision maker on whether or not a book gets published or not with SourcePoint.
Give him your full attention, and you gave him your full attention. You did the full pitch with him. You gave him the respect that he deserved as somebody working in the industry. And that worked out well for us in the end. Like you said, you were a good dude and you treated him with respect and everything that we should do as decent human beings, but also somebody who is trying to get the attention of somebody that we want to publish our creation.
Yeah, you don't need to have everybody like your book.
No.
You need to have one person like your book.
Yep.
And champion it and push it up, right? Because it's hard to get lots of people to read your book when it's an indie project. If you can get one person that is passionate about it and to push it up the ladder, that makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. Another thing about being a good person, can you speak to like social media presence and what publishers are looking for in that regard?
They're looking for a couple of different things. They want to know that you have a social media presence, that you're out there, that you have followers. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can be just starting out, but you can be actively recruiting. You can be actively posting about what you're looking for, and you can be a good person on social media as well. And that is something that you have to realize is that in today's world, everything stays on the internet. So you want to keep your professional image absolutely clean and not be disrespectful to anyone. So if Image doesn't look at your book, you're not going to go and slam Image on social media. You're going to be like, all right, wasn't for them. That's fine. Let's go on to the next person. And that's okay, because not everybody is going to like everything you write. You just, as George said, you need that one person. And so you got to be respectful in every aspect of what you do in the publishing industry.
Yeah. So, if you have anything that is, could be considered rude on your social media, maybe go out there and clean that up before you start talking to publishers. If you're just starting out, make sure you have kind of family. I don't know if it has to be family friendly, but just don't be offensive. That sort of thing to other groups. That's don't be like that anyways. But,
Please.
especially if you want to, be a public person. And yeah, use your social media, use those hashtags. I know it's a pain in the ass, but try and get as many people looking at your stuff when you post it. Post regularly and build your audience. One thing I do to build an audience is I ask people when they buy my book, hey, I'd love to get some feedback on this. What did you think of it? Can you give me a follow? They're already buying my book. Might as well get them to follow me at the same time. And usually they're happy to do that, because if they like it, they want to kind of know where they can get more or what's going on with me and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, and inside our book, we have put our Instagram handles, yours, myself, as well as we put MJ's in there, just so that people can follow up with us if they are in any way interested in getting the next issue, the next volume, whatever, or they're reading, or just give us feedback, because nothing is more valuable than hearing what the readers actually like and think and everything along those lines.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll give us great tips. Like they've suggested we use different monsters, and we've incorporated that into our scripts. Just because we kept on hearing, we want this guy to come up. We want to see this person, and so we've worked that in. So consider what your audience is when you're writing your comics. But we're talking about getting your book published. Let's see. Next thing is, I don't know. Well, what else did we do?
Follow up once you touch base with Chris.
Right. Yeah. So once you've talked to an editor and you've given them your comic book, make sure you ask them for an email address. And here's another thing too. It just came to mind. You gotta make sure when you go and you talk to them, don't put your bag on their books. If they have like a bunch of books on the table, don't put your bag on that. I did that once. I felt like a jerk. Yeah. So don't do that. But then, and then so put your bag on the floor. Don't put it on top of their comic books when you're trying to give them your comic book, because you'll seem like a jerk. And I did that with SourcePoint too. And they still like me enough to bring us on.
Awesome.
But and then follow up. Ask them for their email address. Say, hey, can I follow up with you on that? And you know what? Be cool about it. Don't email them all the time. Shoot them like a message like a week later. Like I try and stick to one a week. It's kind of my rule with editors. If the conversation is still moving along, one a week. If it dies, just let it die. Don't keep on beating a dead horse. Another thing to consider when trying to break into comics, trying to get your book published, be nice to everyone, because the person that is maybe below you now, it could be your boss in the future, and the person that is your boss right now, you might be hiring them later. I've had things where I've worked for certain people and now they work for me. It's different. It's about relationships. So treat everybody cool, and don't slag on people. Like, okay, you don't like someone's artwork, you don't have to tell people about it. Just keep that opinion to yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Like there's a lot of artists out there that are at different levels, different skill levels. Don't slag on them. And most artists are capable of creating an awesome piece that I like, and then some of them make pieces that I don't like. Well, I might end up working with them. I don't want to have them know that I said that I didn't like one thing that they didn't like before, because I'm hoping that they're going to give me something great this time, right? So don't bag on people. So, Crystal, you've worked in bookstores for over 25 years. Can you talk about the importance of having your comic book in a traditional bookstore, as opposed to just having it in comic book stores?
I think it gives you a wider audience, but I also think it's something that to consider when you're looking at different publishers is their access to getting in a Barnes & Noble or a Chapters Indigo. just some of those big box stores, they sell a lot of graphic novels once they're combined into whatever issue arc turns into a graphic novel for you. And it's an important avenue to reach even more readers, because a lot of readers that don't traditionally go into a comic book store go into a bookstore to get what they want. And ordering online is such a huge business. And Barnes and Noble and Chapters Indigo are two of the biggest orders of graphic novels. And I think that if you go into a bookstore stream, then you have a whole other avenue of people who can sell your product. Now, there's a lot of graphic novels out there, and one way that you can distinguish yourself is if you do get on with a publisher, you can walk into your local bookstores and say, hey, I'm the author of this. Can I do a book signing in your store? Would you order books from the publisher? Just showing that you will be out there supporting your product. The publisher will support that and appreciate that, as well as often bookstores will order your product in so that you can sell it and talk to customers. You can go in and tell the staff about it. Ask to next time they have a staff meeting to have 10 minutes of their time that you can tell all the staff about your product. And that's one of my favorite things to do is at Christmas, go to all the Christmas meetings within the city and just tell all of the staff that work for Chapters Indigo about our graphic novel, and just be just geek out about monsters with them and just make them aware of it so that other people can sell your book as well.
Well, that's really it, is when you're signing with the publisher, you're having other people sell your book. And one thing to consider about if you want to get a publishing deal is they want to know that you can sell your own book, right? That you can go to a show, that you can deliver that pitch, and that you're out there and working. And like, so one thing that I think worked in our favor when we were getting signed with SourcePoint Press was I was out there at the same shows as those guys were, over and over and over again. I did 18 shows in 2019. I did 11 shows this year. So in a shortened 2021 season. So I'm out there seeing these guys time and time again. They're seeing me hustle. They're seeing me sell books. And they know that if I am at their booth selling Cover of Darkness, I'm going to sell some for sure. And also let them know that you're going to do anything it takes to make this thing happen. Like with our series Cover of Darkness, it's out on in previews right now and it'll be in stores in January. You and I are doing a ton of social media stuff, and we have interviews. I think we have like over 20 interviews set up, promoting this book on podcasts and YouTube shows, reaching out to different websites to review the comics, sending them a PDF and asking them to review it. You know, those things help. You know, one thing that really helped us a lot was when I was in Los Angeles selling my book. I didn't know it at the time, but one of the staff writers for Comic Book Resources was there and actually bought our first issue, and they reviewed it and they gave us a great review. And so that's actually in Previews Magazine, is that review that we got. So get out there and sell your book. If you want to make this thing happen for yourself, get out there and do it yourself. The publishers will see that and want to work with you.
I think the old mindset was that if you created something, other people would sell it, but that's just not the reality of today's world. In today's world, you create something, you sell it, people see that other people are liking what you sold, and then they want to get in on that and help you make it bigger, better, and take it to different places. I think that that's the reality of today's creative process, especially in the book and comic book industry. They want to see that you are passionate, that you can stand behind it, not that you're going to stand back and let them do all the work. They want an equal 50-50 partner. You created it, now you meet them halfway in the marketing, in the promotion, in the selling, all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, everybody wants to be part of a winner, right? So be a winner. You know, you want to get a publishing deal? Well, you know, start selling your book. Like they saw me killing it out there on the convention circuit, you know, selling, you know, a couple hundred books at a show. And they're like, okay, yeah, we want to work with this guy. Like, that's part of it, is do it yourself and people want to work with you.
That's
any other tips?
Practice your pitch, whether it be your 1 minute elevator pitch or whether it be your sales pitch on how you would sell it to customers. Because I remember when we did our first show together, I had my 1 minute pitch, but I didn't have my sales pitch down yet. And it's something that I practiced with you. And I mean, nobody likes to role play, but let me tell you, it was absolutely crucial before going to that first convention to be able to cohesively and coherently communicate to people that this is what it's about. This is why I'm passionate about it. And give me 30 seconds of your time. And if you're not interested, it's all good. If you are interested, well, let's geek out about monsters together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've given people a lot of valuable information here. Like, so yeah, go to like New York Comic Con, have that elevator pitch ready. Get out there and sell your book yourself. Be attractive to publishers. Don't be a jerk on social media. Don't be negative either. A lot of people complain in this industry, and those people aren't getting publishing deals, right? You got to be a positive person working towards your goals. Don't be slagging on other people, complaining about the business. And then another thing that would make yourself more attractive to retailers would be, or to publishers, is to start developing a relationship with retailers. It's not ever too soon to really start on that, because that's something I'm working on personally right now, is reaching out to stores, building a master list of stores. That takes a massive amount of time if you're building one of those yourself. Just Googling and finding each store, these sorts of things. That's a lot of work that you can do ahead of time. Start to know where the comic book stores are that you want to, and start building relationships with them if you can. Even if it's just, hey, can I send you a PDF of my book? It'll be, I'm working towards getting a publishing deal right now. Just try and get it out there so people know you, and start building an audience. That's all going to make you more attractive to a publisher.
It all comes down to what you said, relationships, right? And that's the beginning and the end of any item that you want to create. It's relationships. That's going to drive you further, take you farther.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that sums it up pretty nicely there, Chris. Yeah. So Cover Darkness is available to order into your local comic book store right now. It's in Previews Magazine from SourcePoint Press. Go in and tell your local comic book store to bring that book in for you, because you're going to like it. You're going to love it. So go ahead and do that. Chris Cam, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics.
Thanks for having me, man. I love writing with you. So this was a lot of fun.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Okay. Peace.